Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach M-Cave Mystery. Today looking at another different article with some interesting details and previous quotes by Kenny Veach from his deleted YouTube comments. Ever since, we've not been able to look back because they're no longer available. So when certain websites archive and re-quote, it does help a long way. And one of which is focusing in on a claim by Kenny in terms of hiking up a mountain and covering such extreme distance and injuring himself in the process. How true was that event? Did he exaggerate? I'm going to try and apply it to Google Earth, like a map project later on, and I can give some perspective in response to Jeff Clark in terms of how Kenny originally worded it. But welcome to everyone that's watching and those during the live premiere. Share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat on the right side of the screen at any point in time. And for those watching on catch up, be sure to drop your thoughts, comments down below under the video. It will help with spreading awareness, starting new discussions. Whether you got questions, answers, thoughts, theories, it's all welcome and it does help. If you are interested in recent coverage by me, whether it be my short clips, summaries, or if it be my latest live stream, recapping everything important that's gone down recently, you'll be able to find that, along with many other videos, in the full Kenny Veach playlist located top right corner where the I symbol is up there. You click on it, you get a drop-down menu box with the playlist and some loose videos attached. If you want to support my channel in general, down below in the comment section, you'll find a pinned message by me with a PayPal link and channel membership on YouTube. With that being said, we're going to start off with the article, read through it, analyze, check for any new details, stuff that might have been overlooked, also correct any mistakes made, and then we'll go from there and then apply it to Google Earth. The title of this article reads, "Vanished in the Shadow of Area 51, the Unsolved Disappearance of Kenny Veach." Once again, the key line Area 51 is used, and whilst Jeff Clark can argue and say, well, when it comes to the general land, the border and Area 51, it does apply. But let's be honest, when it comes to these articles and media people, are they genuinely thinking along that line? Not quite. They'll be using Area 51 because it's come up in discussions, theories and conspiracies in the past, that it's quite a hard-hitting subject reference that it will get views and attention. So I believe that these media news articles use that line just to grab the audience and pull them in, thinking, oh, it's something really dark and deep. It's not always the case, but it's a strategy. However, beside that, this was created June 26, 2024 by a person called Sino. They do have a YouTube channel and did a video which is about 1 hour long talking about the case. Hopefully this article summarises most of it or parts and we'll go from there. Typical photo of Kenny Veach from his hike video in October. Mineshaft in the background, accessible back then. Accessible as of October 2025, but then after that in November, filled in. You want an analysis, it's on my channel. You want a summary, it's in the short section page of my channel. But it's quite shocking, the drastic changes since. I don't know why there's two photos of him in the same spot. November 10th, 2014. A rugged outdoorsman goes on a 3-day hiking trip in the wilderness near Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada. Now, Nellis Test Range, bombing range, not the Air Force Base. It's like with Area 51. You can talk about the surrounding area perimeter of Area 51, the border of Area 51. But if you're talking about Area 51 as a base, the actual base 50 miles away. If you're talking about Nellis Air Force Base, the actual base, it's 30 plus miles away. So people still make that mistake. The land can link to an associated name, yes, but if you're referring to the base, it's not the base. You know, I'm trying to be strict with wording so people don't get confused and mixed up. Yeah, Kenny Veach may have said that the M cave is near a military base. No, it wasn't. It might have been near military borders, yeah. But there's a difference between a border, open land surrounded, and then the actual base itself, where the operations take place, where vehicles, helicopters, and anything else is stored there and comes and goes. Interesting. It mentions a 3-day hiking trip. Now, I wasn't too sure, did Kenny Veach or did we see it worded on the NamUs database? It was supposed to be like an overnight stay, not 3 days of hiking. Why would it even take 3 days of hiking to locate the M cave? If the very first time Kenny was to set out there in trying to relocate it, his first time relocating it since his very first encounter, and it was supposed to be easy, yet he wasn't able to find it, then why, when you go out the final time, unknown to him, supposedly, why would it be planned as a 3-day hiking trip? What does Kenny intend on doing? If he believed it to be down Pitcher Canyon, it's not going to take 3 days of hiking to do it. Now, granted, when Sean Horlacher went there in 2016, he and his friend Mr. Jenkins did camp there overnight. But that was just so they could record more content and explore thoroughly, checking out the entire area. And not just for the cave, but clues along the way. As for Kenny Veach, Kenny wasn't looking for a missing person. He wasn't looking for additional clues. He was just simply looking to relocate the cave, which he originally came across. So it shouldn't take 3 days of hiking unless he was going elsewhere beyond the mineshaft. Yet, for a 3-day hiking trip, for his scent to end at the mineshaft, it just makes no sense. So I think maybe I could get a screenshot, or no, I won't do that because I think the settings are different on iPhone. I'll just have to make sure to do a follow-up, a recap video, maybe of the NamUs database or the police report of the events following up to the day of Kenny and what he originally claimed or said he was going to do, and how does it translate to his actual hike and location based on the time. Yeah, that's actually important. Now, a few months earlier, Kenny Veach had stumbled upon a mysterious cave in the shape of a giant M. Now, Kenny, in his hike video at the start, when he was at the mineshaft, did refer to it as gigantic. Referred to it as the same height or near to him. Kenny's not gigantic. He's under 6 foot. An exaggeration. One of many. And it is a problem that the more an individual exaggerates, the less honest and true they become. It kind of tarnishes, taints their credibility as to what they say and describe, what they do, what they've claimed to have done. How true is it? Overinflated? Possibly. Now, the ground shook near Area 51's bomb testing grounds, but that didn't bother him. Excuse me? What? What the hell's that all about? I don't remember Kenny Veach talking about the ground shaking near Area 51's bomb testing grounds. I thought it was called Nellis Bombing Range, Nellis Test Range, maybe shared with Area 51, but it was related to Nellis more so. As for Kenny being not bothered by the ground shaking, no, Kenny didn't mention that. This person's putting words into Kenny's mouth. Neither did the military drones. What? Kenny Veach never mentioned or caught on camera military drones. Yes, there was a military drone caught on camera, Google Earth satellite imagery, as of 2019, but not 2014. So I don't know what this person's getting on about. But as Kenny neared the cave, a strange sensation washed over him. He said it felt like his body was vibrating. He quickly left the area. Well, it wasn't that simple. He was approaching a supposed M-shaped cave. He started feeling vibrations as he got closer to the entranceway. And eventually he got scared and then hightailed out of there. Beside that, later Kenny mentioned this experience in a comment in a YouTube video about a secret military weapon being tested on Area 51. Area 51 technician's son discloses secret alternative energy video. This sparked a massive online debate. Was Kenny Veach lying? Was he dehydrated and hallucinating? That's a sudden change up. You've gone into retelling the story briefly to then jumping right in at the deep end, suggesting Kenny Veach was lying. Where's the evidence? Where's the material? Where's the observations to suggest he's lying? Of course, I've done my analysis. We've looked at the contradictions by Kenny Veach, the exaggerations by him, and it could imply he was lying, making something up, manipulating some details. But in this article so far, it's kind of jumped in a bit too far abruptly. He may have been dehydrated and hallucinating, more so dehydrated. The thing is, some people have said in the background, was Kenny really reckless or did he know what he was doing? Well, do you think an experienced hiker returning back to his vehicle after a long hike looking knackered, tired, hurt, sore, dehydrated, and the first thing that he decides to grab is a beer? Not water, but a beer. And you see on his face and how he reacts, he's struggling to swallow it and it hurts him. Is that honestly a smart decision to make as an experienced hiker? No. Could he push his body at times and challenge himself? Yeah. But does he neglect his own health at times? Yeah. Is that reckless? It is. So there is a key case to put across there. Beside that, did Kenny in fact stumble upon something he wasn't supposed to see that day? Either way, the internet pushed him to find the cave again, and this time to take his camera. People online encouraged Kenny to go back out there. Ultimately, Kenny Veach was the one that made the decision to go back out. Because no matter how many times people online say, do it, it all comes down to whether the actual person wants to or not. Yeah, you can imply there's peer pressure, but Kenny seemed determined anyway, and he wanted to prove it to people regardless. Because he had his YouTube channel, he had other hiking videos up, so why this one be any different? But if Kenny saw something on that day he wasn't supposed to see, that would mean his 2 to 3 other hikes out there, he didn't come across it, which is weird. Kenny described it as, in his October hike video on YouTube, referred to 2 other times beforehand he's been down Pitcher Canyon where the supposed M cave is. On those 2 previous occasions, one of which he came across the M cave, the other time he didn't. So, whatever he came across, what he wasn't supposed to see, was there temporary? Was it already fixed in place? It was in use, so it was exposed and visible. It's very weird, that particular situation. Moving on. That November morning, he was on a mission. Right, well, this doesn't look too good already because this article is referring to Kenny Veach, referring to what he came across, the internet pushing him to go back out there and record it, then it jumps straight to November, neglecting what happened in October. When the people online pushed Kenny to go out there, Kenny did in October, or at least uploaded his video in October 2014. A few more comments after that, encouragement and other people pushing and questioning Kenny's credibility. He was going to go out one last time, which was November. This article words it poorly. It says he would find the cave and prove to the internet trolls that he wasn't lying and it wasn't all a hallucination. Unfortunately, Kenny would walk off into the Nevada wilderness and never be seen again. This case is rife with conspiracy theories. You know what? This article is rife with inconsistencies, incompetence, and not exactly structured properly. Very abrupt, very erratic, and all over the place. This is a great start. Besides conspiracy theories, it doesn't have to always be that. It can just be ideas and thoughts. It's not everything is a conspiracy, but people online and media love to use the word conspiracy to really downplay stuff and make it just look crazy and silly and not believable. There can be more to it deeper down. And beside that, you got trolls and drama. Really? Drama? Okay, we've had some dramatic people here and there, and pettiness. But this ain't true crime. This is not the true crime community where it's full of just overly emotional driven people beyond and onwards. I've seen it. The Kenny Veach case can attract a range of different characters, but it's not to the same extent as drama. So this article already has failed to do their research completely. But at the core of it, we have a missing persons case that is still unsolved 10 years at the time when this article was done, later. Grab your tinfoil hats, people. We're heading to Nevada. Oh, please. With the cringe tinfoil hats. Wrap the turkey up, shove it in the oven, and make sure you don't burn it, because, to be honest, this mindset's already burnt out because it doesn't make any sense. The way it's been... I think this might be a summary. It's a terrible summary because it's all over the bloody place. Let's see if it gets any better. Kenny Veach was no stranger to the desert. He would spend days out there alone hiking through wilderness, picking up odds and ends of things as souvenirs, as he decorated his home with that. He'd bring them home, etc., and tell other people about it. Here is a direct quote from a couple of his comments on YouTube. It's interesting how this article of 2024 can do direct quotes from what Kenny said on YouTube when his comments have been deleted ever since. I think that was of 2021 onwards when his comments disappeared completely. But beside that, it's important to look back at Kenny's words because, to look at the origins on YouTube, no longer available. So Kenny said, I solo hike across mountaintops that most people wouldn't dare go. I've been in more caves than I can count. And yet he also says he's gone spelunking in the area of Pitcher Canyon. And the one cave he came across, panning around from the supposed covered cave, he said, nope, I'm not going up there, and avoided it. Why? Why claim to do this and to do that and to explore this and that? And when the opportunity finally arises, you're getting towards the end of Pitcher Canyon, you've not found the M cave, you might as well at least show yourself as proof, exploring and being hands-on with a cave. And Kenny says, nope, I'm not going up there. He kind of goes against his own words. It's not a good look, in a way. What else? I play with rattlesnakes for fun, but this one particular cave was beyond anything I have ever encountered. I have been doing this sort of thing for over 20 years. I go where no one goes, and I never take anyone with me. And yet, Kenny Veach was willing to invite people on his final hike of November. A YouTube comment somewhere, Kenny did say, if you want to come out here, you can do so. If anyone wants to follow up on the offer. Unfortunately, you can't see the original comment, it's been deleted, but when Kenny said that, did anyone join him out there, and is that why it went wrong for Kenny? Who knows? In addition, the quote by Kenny originally said, I find schools of all shapes and sizes, and occasionally I find really old animal traps. I hike over mountaintop after mountaintop and sleep on peaks under the stars. Sometimes I have to scale giant cliffs to get myself out of a jam, but I always make it back. I'm beat up and tired. My pack is almost always heavier than when I left. I had to be rescued only one time by helicopter. This is the important part, Jeff Clark, if you're here listening. That time when he rescued by a helicopter, Kenny said, I had blown out my left leg at the top of the mountain, and I only had a cup of water left to get me 20 miles back to my truck. It was also over 100 degrees out, so I have a very good safety record. So what the hell is Kenny talking about? He says, I solo hike across mountain tops. And that's just talking in general, correct? I hike over mountaintop after mountaintop and sleep on peaks under the stars. No location given whatsoever. Then he said, I had to be rescued only one time. And during that one time, it took 20 miles in distance. But it's interesting that. And I only had a cup of water left to get me 20 miles back to my truck. So 20 miles, and yet Kenny Veach only did 10 miles with the M Cave hike loop route, and he was knackered. So what makes him think he could have done 20 in the past? Now, is that 20 miles up a mountain, or 10 to 15 miles on ground level and then 5 miles up a mountain? I wonder. But yeah, you notice how it says blown out left leg at the top of the mountain. What is the mountain? Are we giving it a name, an actual location, or is it just a random generic mountain somewhere out there in Nevada? Is it to do with Sheep Peak? Or is it to do with Hayford Peak? Is it to do with Gas Peak? Is it to do with Frenchman Mountains? I don't know. Kenny doesn't explain. But it seems like a bit of an exaggeration, this. Kenny's rambling comments seemed a bit over the top. Maybe for once, this article's making some sense. Whilst he probably thought these types of comments made him look big and tough, in reality, they show how reckless his hiking trips really were. Wow. Another observation. Interesting. Strangely, after Kenny's disappearance, a woman who claimed to be his girlfriend, known as Sharon Pilgrim, got on his YouTube channel and posted big, long comments about how she believed he committed suicide. And ever since, no other family member has referred to that, even in the documentary. Such as the brother to Kenny, Raymond Veach, believes Kenny went out there and something happened to him, maybe an accident, something went wrong, but not suicide. And that, in regard to the girlfriend commenting online, Sharon was trying to find closure, was moving on with her life. Really? But Sharon was trying to move on with her life, but at the same time was playing hot and cold with another YouTuber saying, well, this is really interesting and fun. I can't wait for you to find out the truth. I know, but I'm not going to let you know because I want you to try and work it out for yourself. I'll let you know if you're close or not to the truth. That's what Sharon said. Mental health professional. Was in a relationship with Kenny Veach at some point and treats Kenny Veach's disappearance as a game. And referring back to Kenny, would you say that's moving on? It sounds like it's more like playing with life. Beside that, it says, she recommends that anyone who goes out to the desert looking for Kenny be a little more cautious and take GPS with them. So you've got Kenny's girlfriend that is dodgy, but doesn't stop or deny people from going out there searching, just encourages them to take precaution. But then you've got Kenny's sister-in-law, Susan Veach, that just doesn't want people going out there and has taken direct action since. Weird situations. 10 years plus have passed. Hundreds of people have looked through the wilderness trying to find the infamous M Cave in Kenny. Oh no. Unless this takes into account Red Rock Search and Rescue. I don't know how many search team members were on that over the course of days. But if you're talking about ever since, as for volunteers, YouTubers, general public, people in the background, no way have hundreds of people gone out there. Maybe 50 or less. Maybe 20 or less. Maybe 10 to 15. Right? It's a desolate area. Even though Kenny put the place on the map and made it popular, not many people have actually gone there. Over the course of time, with relevance to the time period and frame, not enough people have been out there, and for good reason. It's harsh, it's dangerous, it's rough, it's demanding. It's quite some distance away too. So this is, for them to say that Kenny Veach was reckless and probably exaggerating what he said, this article, it's rich by them saying it because they're a hypocrite. They've done it themselves by claiming hundreds of people have been going out there searching for Kenny and M Cave. Nope. That's complete bollocks. Beside that, but no one has found definitive proof of either. One YouTuber claimed he found the cave, but it was walled up with rocks. Oh, one YouTuber? Oh, I wonder who that is. Because this article, this person seems to have done some research, but fails to give credit. So don't worry, I'll step up as the catalyst, like usual in bloody life. The reality is, this one YouTuber was known and is known as Sean Neil Horlacher, also known as Sean Carner. Sean Horlacher in 2019 claimed he came across the supposed M Cave, which was covered up. Because when reviewing Kenny's footage back in 2014, Kenny said, well, it's kind of on ground level, just like right here, which was outside of what looked to be a walled up cave. It says, another person claimed to have found it, but now has a restricted sign on it. Oh no! An even bigger YouTube channel with over 400,000 subscribers, known as Exploring Abandoned Mines in Unusual Places, also known as Frank. Shout out to them. They've been present on my channel on and off with key comments, and it's appreciated. And yet, this person doing the article fails to give credit to Sean Hallaker and fails to give credit to a big established channel like Exploring Abandoned Mines. How embarrassing. Now, in terms of that other supposed M cave where there was a restricted sign there, originally there wasn't. When Frank went back out there a second time, magically a sign was outside the cave. And Frank was like, oh, well, I best not stick around that long. Now, of course, there's people out there that are very sceptical of the video. Well, both of them. That's understandable. Nevertheless, there are M-shaped caves out there. Is it the true one? Probably not. But there's more than just two occasions like that. What about the M cave that Jeff Clark came across, which no one else has been able to locate because of the shadow, the lighting, because it's higher elevation, similar to how Kenny described it at 1.2. This article should acknowledge that, but it only refers to 2. Beside that, it says, however, whilst these theories are interesting, we need to remember that this is a case of a missing person. This man clearly had mental health issues, and now he's missing. Why do we say he clearly had mental health issues when there's no hard evidence to show that? We don't have any doctor's reports. We don't have any prescriptions. We don't have any diagnosis. All we have is a supposed woman claiming to be the girlfriend, like how this article suggests, with a lack of, showing a form of uncertainty, as in, can we really believe that she is the girlfriend? But beside that, they're also claiming here as a fact that Kenny was mentally unwell. But where do we know where that came from? Because it's what the girlfriend claimed. And yet this article is sceptical about what the girlfriend claims to be. They should also be sceptical what the girlfriend claims about Kenny. And yet they don't. Hypocrisy again, contradict themselves. It's a disaster how this is worded and written. Oh my God, this is not good. A person can go missing. It doesn't mean to say that they've got mental health issues. It doesn't always mean to say that people with mental health issues is a reason as to why they go missing. Sometimes it's because they're vulnerable because of mental health. They could be taken advantage of. They could be kidnapped, taken away. Yeah, not the be all and end all. There's multiple factors as to why they went missing. Other people may not have mental health issues and they still go missing, right? It's not just one-sided or one way, right? In his strange videos, Kenny tries to sell some of the off-the-wall inventions and even tries to sell himself along with his house. Yes, you read that right. Kenny tried to sell himself and his house in a video. I will link here. He wanted someone to buy his home and pay him to be the caretaker. To me, Kenny seems like a nice guy, but maybe a little off. He seems to have constantly been trying to prove himself and always fell short. Why did he need to prove himself to the internet trolls anyway? Did they push this poor man to be even more extreme in his last hike in the Nevada desert? I think so. How could Kenny push himself any more when he already pushed himself in the past to the point he blew his left leg out and needed to be rescued? Pushed himself to the point where he got bitten by a snake and it could have been life-threatening. He's already been through some really difficult, bad situations in the past. So to say this is the worst of the worst, the obsession of the outcome, depends the circumstances. Because when you actually look and follow the scent, it only ended at the mine shaft, and that is not an extreme hike as it's been worded here. You have to remember the scent and the supposed total distance that he covered going one way and where it ended, based on what the search and rescue say. And that's up to the mine shaft before Wild Horse Pass. So that's like 3 to 4 hours of hiking. Still demanding and difficult to do. But if that's all you're going to do, well, then it's nowhere near as demanding as what he's previously done. It's nowhere near as demanding as his original hike video in October. This article fails to acknowledge that. What else do we have? Check out my latest True Crime Tuesday. No, I don't think so, because to be honest, it doesn't seem to be going too well. The team and I cover Kenny's strange case and discuss the various theories surrounding his disappearance. Let me know what you think. I think I've already let you know what I thought about it. So with that being in mind, I don't think Kenny Veach pushed himself as much as it's been made out to be on his final hike. People will say he did push himself more, and that justifies his disappearance and possible death. But when you actually hear about the details of his scent ending at the mine shaft and that actual distance, it's not as bad as what's been previously done by him. And what we also need to refer back to, that's the website if you're interested in it, is when Kenny Veach was referring to 20 miles back to my truck. That's the distance from where he was injured, to where his truck was at. He says, the mountain, which one? Let's head on over to Google Earth and see if we can find any potential ones. What you're looking at on screen is our previous hike project, summarising the supposed hikes by Kenny at different points, from his final one November 10th, highlighted in green, to his October one, highlighted in red, then another one highlighted in orange at some point when he came across the MK for the first time, and his other reference of when he was hiking on one of the peaks and camped there overnight, highlighted in blue. Was that the one Kenny was also referring to when he said he was 20 miles from his truck? I wonder, where would Kenny park his vehicle in order for it to be 20 miles from one place to another? Maybe we can test it out right now if we get the measuring tool, and maybe it's not the most accurate. Just take that into consideration. Let's say it was possible to go this way. I'm not saying by it is, but it's just as a tool, a rough tool. It'd be Blackgate Canyon, I believe. So the way it's parked, that's about 6.2 miles roughly. That's nowhere near 20 miles. Now, Jeff Clark did suggest, at most, maybe Kenny may have covered 6 to 7 miles up a mountain or towards a mountain, or that Kenny Veach was 6 to 7 miles away from where he was parked and not 20. Because whether it be flat ground, elevated ground, sheer mountain tops, you're not going to be covering 20 miles on foot, because Kenny barely managed 10 to 11 miles on the hike loop route highlighted in red. So you've got to use common sense and then refer back to maybe Kenny Veach exaggerating himself. But did he do it on purpose, or was he not thinking at the time? And that can actually happen quite a lot, just in general with humans out there. So with that measurement, maybe I can try the other one as a potential. Pine Nut Road. I say it's just roughly done. And this would be a wash highlighted in blue. We're up to 10 miles. Now, if I did it about there, that's about 17 miles. Is that the DNWR? That's the DNWR. You can park there, I believe. Is it possible that's what Kenny did at some point? And on that hike that Kenny claims, he needs to be airlifted away. Well, he said where he was parked, so he wasn't given a ride down there as like he was some other time before. So you could say it's close to 20 miles, or if it was at the highway, but you're not going to be parked on the highway. You could be parked at the DNWR, where his vehicle is there. That could be about 20 miles roughly. Interesting. That's very interesting, that. 20 miles. I'm just making sense of the measurements. If I just leave it there for now, put that aside, what you see highlighted in yellow overlapping the blue is the DNWR where Kenny Veach could have parked his vehicle as a visitor centre, and then actually walked up Pine Nut Road where Yucca Gap is, walk all the way around here, and go up that wash, Long Valley, up and over, and eventually up here to get to this spot to make it roughly 20 miles away from where his vehicle was. Not the green symbol vehicle park, but where it says over near Corn Creek, DNWR, where that yellow line ends at, that would be roughly 20 miles or a little bit more. So Kenny Veach is up on this mountain, his vehicle's way back down that way, which is kind of like southwest, and he needs to be airlifted. It makes sense, but is he honestly going to cover that distance on foot? Not a chance. Not a chance. Right? To refer back to Kenny's original hike loop, his vehicle was parked around here. He went up Little Jermay Canyon, north, up that way. Just flip the image just a little bit because it zooms out. Went over Wild Horse Pass, dropped down into the next canyon, the slot, and then he headed this way, also known as Pitcher Canyon, winding all the way down, finally came out, and then he made his way all the way back to where his vehicle was parked. That's about like 10, 11 miles. He was exhausted, he was knackered, he was limping, he was in pain. So if Kenny Veach barely managed to do that hike, to try and come close to it being mentioned that once Kenny was 20 miles away, stranded up a mountain from his vehicle, what Kenny would have to do to equal that distance would be to go around this same hike loop route a second time round to total 20 miles. And after the first, well, not the first, the only on the day hike that he did, and when making it back to his vehicle, knackered, exhausted, and limping, if you said to Kenny, right, I want you to do that hike all over again, go back up Little Jermay Canyon, over Wild Horse Pass, then down Pitcher Canyon, and come back to the vehicle. Can you do that for me? Kenny would probably be like, I can't. My leg's really injured and sore. I'm limping. I'm dehydrated. I'm absolutely knackered. Can't do it. So if Kenny Veach is incapable, physically more so, and partially mentally, of being able to repeat that same hike loop route 2 times on one day, then how is it even possible for Kenny to hike up a mountain, to injure his leg, to cover 20 miles one way in order to be 20 miles away from where he parked? If his vehicle's 20 miles away from where he parked, it means likely he covered 20 miles on foot to get to the mountain. He wouldn't be able to do that. He can barely do 10 miles, let alone 20. And this is up mountains. When it comes to Little Jermay Canyon, as bad and harsh and difficult as that is, it's not the same as going up the likes of Sheep Peak or a place like that where there's much taller mountains and even more dangers about. And depending on where your starting point is, and as it's been interpreted, Kenny's starting point is even further away than his Little Jermay Canyon M Cave hike loop route. So I personally think that Kenny Veach exaggerated himself. I do think that. In terms of the only other measurement, as I suggested, was if he parks his vehicle like where he normally does, and it was up here roughly, it's about 6-7 miles, that could be more possible. But what I've highlighted in blue and yellow there, I don't know if you can actually go up Blackgate Canyon and actually come up round this way, or if it's too steep. I'm going to be honest with you. I personally don't know if that's accessible or not. If it was, it would make more sense for this one. But I said, Kenny did not give a location. He said the mountain top, the mountain, but not the name of the location. Now, in Kenny Veach's hike video, when he was at the mine shaft, he was pointing over that way, up there, the peaks, and said somewhere up that way, 9,000 feet high, even though it's not. Someone said it's about 6,000. Kenny exaggerated on that too. That's where he camped up there one time. Not in regard to when he injured himself. I know Jeff Clark didn't interpret directly like that, but Jeff Clark interpreted the 20-mile claim by Kenny up a mountain as likely Sheep Peak. But Kenny has said in his own words and quote, did not mention the name of what peak, what mountain he climbed. We're just assuming that it's this location because he seems to talk about it a lot. right? So Kenny did manage this one time up there, Sheep Peak, and made it back down to the highway, which is still some distance. Did he exaggerate about that in any way? Well, if he exaggerates about other things, he could have exaggerated about this. There is a bit more depth to it though, which I'll do in a separate video, so be on the lookout for that. But I just wanted to kind of like incorporate the article, what we looked at, the importance of the quotes within it, how it applies to a project like this, and trying to work out what mountain did Kenny actually go up, which was 20 miles in distance, which caused him to get injured. Is it all to do with the same area near to the M Cave, or is it further afar, which we've not heard of before? You let me know what you think in the comment section. All in all, with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed the video, found it interesting. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, like button, share the video, and if you're on mobile, it'll be appreciated if you hit the hype button, just to spread that general awareness so people know where things are at and clearing up misinformation from these reckless articles. It's probably the worst one we have read so far, and that says a lot, really. So as for the next video that I will be doing, it's probably going to be a follow-up and a closer analysis of the mine shaft, with credit to Driven X Adventures, with what's come about there, and Susan Veach and the comments made by her, analysing, reacting to it, and comparing it to previous footage involving Jay Chuck. So there's a handful of stuff that I'm going to be doing, and I just need to do it in a certain order, and then we'll go from there. All kinds of twists and turns, lots of activity going on, and it is shocking. We'll see what happens next. For now, my name's Wallite Raf. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.